Hi, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya, and welcome to my channel, Cranleyplace, where I'm focused on Hermès scarf style, knot tutorials, and more. In this video, I'll continue my coverage of the new Hermès Spring-Summer 2023 scarf designs appearing and discuss what we know about them so far. If you haven't seen my past episodes on the season, be sure to check those out. Let's get started. Here now in a double-faced format is this mechanical design originally issued in 1971 by Pierre Peron. This alternator is reportedly from the late 1960s. If you're not familiar with what an alternator does, think about it this way. The battery is essential for starting your car when it's off, and in a combustion engine, the alternator keeps your car alive when the engine is running. It works by turning the mechanical energy into electrical energy. So when your engine is on, it powers a drive belt that rests on a pulley attached to the alternator, and the pulley turns the alternator's rotor shaft, which then spins a set of magnets around a coil. These spinning magnets generate alternating current around the coil, which is then channeled into the alternator's rectifier. The rectifier converts that AC power into DC power, and that activates your car's electrical systems. But I digress, so pardon the nerd moment. This, of course, all changes as the world transitions to electric vehicles, which do not need alternators. But back to the scarf, I've seen this in at least 3 colorways, all of which have contrast hems. Definitely would expect to see more color combinations to come. It's probably no surprise that horse racing is one of the oldest of all sports, and its basic concept has undergone virtually no change over the centuries. While knowledge of the first horse race is lost in prehistory, both 4-hitched chariot and mounted bareback races were held in the Olympic Games of Greece over the period of 700 to 40 BCE. Horse racing, both of chariots and of mounted riders, was a well-organized public entertainment in the Roman Empire. But the history of organized racing in other ancient civilizations is not very firmly established. Presumably, organized racing began in such countries as China, Persia, Arabia, and other countries of the Middle East, and in North Africa, where horsemanship became highly developed early on. Then, too, there were the Arabian, Barb, and Turk horses that contributed to the earliest European racing. Such horses became familiar to Europeans during the Crusades, from the 11th to 13th century CE, from which they brought those horses back. Racing in medieval England began when horses for sale were ridden in a competition by professional riders to display the horse's speed to buyers. During the reign of Richard the Lionheart, from 1189 to 99, the first known racing purse was offered for a whopping £40, and this was for a race run over a 3-mile or 4.8-kilometer course with knights as riders. This one I've seen in at least 2 colorways with contrast hems, and there's also a twilly if that suits your style better, but I would certainly expect to see more colorways coming available during the season. Here's another car-centric design in a 70-centimeter silk twill format by longtime Hermès artisan Caty Latham. The scene is set in the 1920s when women's emancipation was in full swing. Hermès contributed to this newfound freedom, designing useful and practical clothing and everything needed by the modern traveling woman: trunk, gloves, scarf, of course, briefcase, and blanket, as revealed in these ads assembled by Caty Latham. Now, when we think of the automobile era, it's not uncommon to think of the 20s, whereas the car had been the plaything of the wealthy in the first 2 decades of the 20th century. In the 1920s, it became widely available to the general populace. More modest pricing and improved roads and highway systems launched the automobile into the daily lives of Americans. Many post World War I design changes helped to distinguish this new era of driving. In 1922, enclosed vehicles were finally affordable and becoming more standard, especially in colder climates. Smoother contours made a more aesthetically pleasing form, and fender lines ran continuously from front to rear. Squat hoods blended with front fenders, fender aprons partially concealed wheels, and a curved one-piece windshield replaced the old straight design. Now, this scarf I've seen in at least 5 colorways, all of which have contrast hems. No doubt there will be a few more options to come, so we'll see. Here's a mousseline in a 60 centimeter format that I'm not sure I've ever seen before. According to the backstory, in the second half of the 19th century, Parisian saddlery manufacturers, much like the fashion boutiques, presented their new products in illustrated catalogs. Saddles, collars, blinkers, and harnesses were drawn with great precision. Several of these albums are, no surprise, kept in the Émile Hermès collection. One of them, dating from 1895, details different strap patterns, inspiring Virginie Jamin's design in 2017 and taking on the form of a bandana. The rainbow-colored polka dots really shine in this design, adding the perfect touch of whimsy for a warm summer day. I've only seen this one so far in 2 colorways, so it will be interesting to see what else they choose to unveil. This next one is a much-beloved design by Caty Latham, originally issued in a 90 centimeter silk twill format in 1965 and reissued in multiple formats many times over since then. If you haven't seen my video on my DIY dip dye of my vintage Cles, be sure to check that out. There's a link in the corner here. Here now, in a 55 centimeter bandana style, the design of course pays tribute to the metalworking artisans who crafted these marvels, as well as the mathematical genius of the locksmiths. It was some 6,000 years ago when historians found evidence of the first locks and keys in ancient Babylon and Egypt. The oldest examples of these ancient locks were found in the ruins of an Assyrian palace in the biblical city of Nineveh. Those lock mechanisms dated to around 704 BC. The next evolution of keys came in ancient Rome, where engineers and inventors managed to greatly improve upon the designs of Egyptian wooden locks. By using iron and bronze, the Romans were able to create much stronger and smaller locks with keys that were light enough to be carried on a person. This bandana is available in at least 3 colorways, with these dotted hems no less. We'll see what other fun colors they'll bring out for this design. This is a reissue of a design originally from circa 1986 in a 90 centimeter silk twill format, now here in a 45 centimeter. Bris de Frontaux, or bridle belts and horse bits, no doubt inspired by the Émile Hermès collection. Horse tack, if you're not familiar, is basically all the equipment needed to ride, handle, and care for a domesticated horse. So that includes things like the bridle, bits, reins, saddle, stirrups, and more. Horse riding equipment can be traced back to about 700 BC, although there is some disagreement about dates, with some scholars believing that equus is Latin for horse or horses were being ridden as far back as 4000 BC. At the time, saddles were no more than tasseled cloths or pads, held on to the horse's back by a strip of material known in modern times as a girth. I've seen this 45 now in at least 4 colorways, so there should be a few more to come still. Here's another détail version, this time of the quite popular Faubourg Tropical design in this petite 45 cm format. It hones in on the part of the jungle enveloping the flagship store on the Rue de Faubourg. In the first arrondissement lies one of the most quintessential Parisian streets, the Rue Saint-Honoré. The street actually stretches quite long, and it becomes the Rue de Faubourg Saint-Honoré around where it reaches the 8th arrondissement. Like many streets in the center of Paris, the Rue Saint-Honoré was constructed during or before the Middle Ages, or prior to the 15th century. The street was named after the Saint-Honoré church. It actually stretched beyond the official city walls, which is why it is called Faubourg, an old French term which loosely translates to suburb or outside the city. While today it is known largely as a luxury shopping destination, it has quite an illustrious history. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were imprisoned on the Rue Saint-Honoré before the French Revolution, and eventually it was the road on which Marie Antoinette was carried along before her public death at the Place de la Concorde. So back to the scarf. I've seen this now in at least 5 very delicate colorways, all with contrast hems. I would expect a few more to come before the season is through. So there you have it. More of the spring-summer 2023 scarves from Hermès that are appearing online. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, not tutorials, and more, so be sure to subscribe to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!